the singers. Anybody that tries to do anything, you have an enemy. And pray for them. You pray for them that God will use them in a great way, that they'll minister to people. But praying, sowing seeds, inviting others. I remember a while back, we had a thing up on the screen. I don't know if Pastor or CJ put up there, but you know where I'm going with that. So, but yeah, it was when people were asked that don't come to church. Help me if I'm not saying this right, but when people were asked why they don't come to church, it was a huge amount they said, well, no one ever asked me. No one ever invited me to church. And you think of that. If you're somebody and you don't go to church, that's scary. That's scary to go into a church if you know nobody there, nobody's invited you there, you feel like you're a stranger walking into the place. You know, and we have a friendly church. We have a very friendly church, but invite people. Sometimes that's the part of it we're missing. It's just say, hey, yeah, Sundays I go to church. If you're not going anywhere, come to our church with us. Yeah, we got a great church. You know, and it doesn't have to be anything awkward or weird. It's just, hey, I love my church. I love what I do. Come be a part of it. Yeah, we'd love to see you come. But inviting others, glorifying God. How do we represent God? Yeah, and I say this often, but when you leave here on Sunday morning, anybody who goes out to eat and you're dressed like this, going into the restaurant, it's Sunday, and people pretty much know that, hey, they must go to church. They're wearing, you know, their Sunday clothes or whatever, and people know. But when they know you're a Christian, what are they seeing? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Whether they tell you or not, when somebody knows you're a Christian, they're going to watch. Sometimes just to see what you're about. Mm-hmm. Oh, they want to see, okay? Are they talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk? And I always say this too, is when you go to the restaurants, especially if you go to Longhorn on Sundays, okay, you know where I'm going. Don't be mean to the waiter or waitress. Don't leave them a tiny little tip and then slide it in where you're invited to Bethlehem Baptist Church. Don't tell them what church you go to if you're going to be like that. Okay? That's our restaurant we like to go to. So I'd like to be able to keep going there, but really I don't know, I've probably told this story a million times, but I remember this, and it was probably, I don't even know how old I am now, but I bet it's been 30 years ago, 30 or 40 years ago. I remember going to this place, and it was a restaurant, and went during the week, so it wasn't their normal, rush hours and all that kind of thing. But it was, I think it was like Red River Cattle Company was the name of. It was the home of the, I don't know, 50-pound steak. If you need all of it, you get it free or something, something crazy like that. But it was, it was a fairly expensive restaurant and everything. But I remember sitting there and overheard the waitresses talking. And the one waitress said, "Yeah, I've got to work this Sunday. I hate working on Sundays. That church crowd is just..." And it made such an impression on me that all these years, all the things that I've forgotten over the years, I've remembered that very clearly. And I thought, what a horrible, horrible testimony for Christians that when they go to a restaurant on Sunday, that the waiters and waitresses don't want to work on Sunday because of how rude they are, how stingy they are, how demanding they are. And I thought, that's horrible. That's a horrible thing. And that just, so for all these years since then, I keep that in mind. Every time, especially on Sunday, if they know we're coming from church, I don't care if the service is good or bad. I'm going to leave a good tip because I know somebody's going to look at me and say, hey, those are Christians. You know, and as a Christian, we don't want to be known as the meanest, stingiest, most demanding people that there are. Yeah? You have a call in the middle of the Sunday school lesson. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and so when we talk about inviting somebody to church, if that's what we've already done to people, are they going to want to come to our church? Are they going to want to hear about the God that we serve? I wouldn't. Yeah. But always be aware of that we represent God in how we do things. I'm 60-something years old, but I've been in, whatever. I've been in church all my life, 60-something years. And I will tell you, some of the meanest people I know from church. Not this church, of course. Everybody here is wonderful, but growing up in a church over the years. And we always tried to tell our kids is you don't go to church for the people so much. You're going to learn about God. You're going to worship God. But when you go to church, if you're going with mean, nasty people, and then we wonder, a lot of times we see, kids when they get to be 18 and 19 years old, and they grew up in church, and they've seen things, and they want nothing to do with church. That's a shame. That's a shame. When we are at one another and gnawing on one another, and and the things that people see in the church that they want nothing to do with church, that's not on God. That's on us. And we need to always be aware of how we treat one another, but always how we represent God too. That's just anything that brings shame to our God. And the way Jesus treated people, that's the way we're supposed to do it. And when we don't do that, and we think that we've got a better way, or we'll treat you like the world. This is how the world treats one another, so we're going to do it like that. And when it doesn't turn out so well, you kind of get what you get. But I've also, in church, I've seen some of the kindest, most loving people ever was. And it's like anything. You get good and bad with anything. But make sure that we've got so many good that if there's anything bad, that it covers all that. So, but glorifying God. You guys have probably all heard the saying, we may be the only Bible some people read. We may be the only Bible some people read. But encouraging one another, building one another up. When our singers, they get up here and sing, we don't have, nobody's a professional singer or anything here, but encourage them. You shouldn't have to be a professional singer. Encourage people when they they sing songs, and they sing from their heart, and they sing to glorify God, encourage them. Encourage our pastor when he preaches, when he teaches. Let him know, hey, Pastor, I needed that. Yeah, I got that. That was a good lesson, or that was a good sermon that you preached there. You know, and I'm sure he'll tell you that he doesn't need those things. We all need those things. There is nobody that doesn't need more encouraging. Does anybody get enough discouragement in here? Anybody need more discouragement? But we should always be encouraging people, and especially encourage them in the work of the Lord. Great thing to do. Romans 12:4 says, "For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in Christ, and everyone members one of another. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy, according to the proportion of faith, or ministry, let us wait on our ministering, or he that teacheth on teaching, or he that exhorteth on exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. He that ruleth with diligence. He that showeth mercy with cheerfulness." That word exhorteth in there. You ever be around or been around people that just you can't help being happy and encouraged just being around them? They just bubble over with that. That's Gayla. Joyce was the one I used to always think of that. Was she just bubbled over all the time, and just you couldn't be around her without just smiling. It was a contagious thing. But exhorting one another. Hey, come on, help me with this, or hey, come on, hey, glad you made it today, or whatever it is. We talked a couple weeks ago about the God of Baal. If you've heard that, some of you have heard the God of Baal. That we live in a world that serves ball, baseball, and football, and basketball, and whatever sport there is that has ball. And that's replaced people being in God's house, worshiping God. Sunday morning Sunday was not, even considered. I know when I was a kid playing sports and things, Sunday wasn't an option. We never played games on Sunday. Now, you can't drive by a ball field on a Sunday morning during baseball season and not see the fields packed out and people all over the place. But I got to thinking about that. I thought, the ball teams and all that, the sports and stuff, there's some things there that transfer over pretty well to the church family. I was thinking all the years, and I played, I'm like Pastor Kurt. I'd play anytime somebody would call me. We'd play softball, and from the time I was, I don't even know, 18 years old or something, but I played probably 40 years. I played till I was just too old to get out of bed the next few days after we'd play. But we'd play in tournaments, but I always thought, the teams that we had, you play with a lot of different players, and I'm sure pastors played with, lots of different players, and you see a lot of different players when you play sports, whatever the sport is. But we would have players, there was guys you could count on that if you'd make a bad play, they'd run by and say, hey, that's all right, shake it off, that kind of thing. And they were always encouraging people around them. And I got to thinking, there's a lot of attraction in sports and playing ball because of being a part of something. The camaraderie, being on a team with people, belonging to things, but encouraging people, working together with people, and all those things. And I thought, that's for a game. What we're doing here is not a game. This is life and death. This is eternity that we're doing here. how much more important is it that we as a church show those kind of things in how we do things? You know, when somebody has an off day or has a, I used to, and I made, my fair share of errors and things like that, certainly over the years. But when I'd make one, I'd say, all right, pick me up, guys. Hey, pick me up. And those kind of things. That's what we should be doing as Christians with one another. We're on the same team, and we shouldn't be, but over the years of playing, we'd have some guys, they didn't care if they got 4 hits or if they got no hits, as long as we won. They wanted to win. They liked winning. I like winning. We'd have other guys that show up, and they didn't care if we won or not. They cared if they got their 4 hits or they got to hit 3 home runs, or they were there for them. They wanted to see, this. I want to show you how good I am, and get all these things for myself. But we didn't keep those players on our team very long. Well, no matter how good they were, we'd have some like that, and they were just very good players. But it's like, if that's the attitude you have, it's just, much rather have the guys that, they'd work at what they were doing, they'd get better at what they were doing, they'd help the other guys on the team, then they'd cheer for the other guys on the team. When one guy's hitting, you get 10 guys sitting in the dugout, they're waiting to hit or whatever, but you'd hear guys over there, all right, come on, get a hit. You got it, all right, you got them. Then you get a good hit, and then you hear somebody yell from the dugout. Well, as Christians, we should be doing that. Brandon, when he preached, a couple weeks ago, on short notice, that was awesome. Yeah. He popped in there and ready to go and let it fly. But all those kind of things, when those happen in our church, say something. It's one thing, and I believe it or not, I used to be shy and backward and all that when I was younger, and something happened as I got older. I think when you get older, it's like, you don't care anymore. It's like, whatever, I've been quiet for too long. But I got to thinking, when I would play ball, I'd be out there on the ball field. You'd hear me all over the ball field. I'd be out in the outfield. You could hear, I could yell to the pitcher from the outfield. I'm yelling at guys on the bases. But then when I'd go to church, I'd sit there and I'd be very quiet. And I thought, that's not right. Something about that just didn't seem right to me. I thought, if I can yell and be that excited and encouraging the other guys and things like that for a game, and that's what it is, it's a game, but then come to church and something that really is exciting, that lasts, and not ever open my mouth and not say amen, not say, hey, good job, anything like that, I thought, that's just not right. We're on the same team. We're all on the same team here. If we're here, come with an attitude of we're coming to praise and worship the God who's above all gods, but we're coming to encourage those people around us. They're on our team. We want them to win. Whatever it is that you do it for God. And we've got all kinds of talents. Pastor shared his archery experience with us the other night. And Brother Jamie, he's doing a get-together with all the, what do you call them, archeryists? Help me, Justin, if you know all these people that shoot bow and arrows and all that. Jamie, what a great outreach that is. That just thrilled me that he did that. I thought, what a great outreach. But I would be riding in the car with the pastor when they said, would you guys leave? They would put me in the car with him. You don't want me shooting a bow and arrow anywhere. That's not going to help reach out to anybody. But all of us have things. God's given us different abilities, talents, personalities. Reach out and let God use us for His glory. Okay? I'm going to run out of time.
Brother, would you close us in prayer?
Yep, I sure will. Father, we thank you for just the privilege, Father, to be in your church and just be with us, Father. Help us to, as we do these lessons.